Hello and welcome everyone. Today we're going to look at uncovering your inner wounds. And many will say, I don't have any wounds, I'm fine the way I am. But maybe when you're by yourself and you start thinking about yourself, about your feelings, you may realize that, there are wounds. And when you reflect on your life, all the way from your earliest days, and you take a look at how your life has been, then you do realize that there have been times when you got hit and it went in. Other times you got hit and you didn't let it in. The times when you got hit and you didn't let it in are very often times where you might have been punished and you would have prepared yourself to endure the punishment, whatever it might be. But that preparation and decision to endure it means that whatever hit comes to you, you don't let it in and it remains deflected. But what I'm talking about today is those things that do get in and the things that did get in. Sometimes it could be something very small and sometimes something very big. One of the things that we do see about these wounds is that they correspond with patterns. And the wounds that go in, they come in series which get repeated over many years. Different circumstances arise where the same kind of hit will hit you, it will go in, and it will exacerbate a previous wound of a similar type, and the wound gets deeper and worse and repeated, and it never really gets a chance to heal. What happens with these wounds is we tend to cover them over, put bandages on, and carry on. And what happens to any wound that you cover over and leave it without taking care of it, it festers, it becomes poison, it goes into your system, and it's very, very toxic. There are so many of us who are walking around carrying shredded old bandages with toxic, festering wounds inside that every so often get triggered by a similar situation where something, even a small thing, replicates that original wound and sets everything off again. And there you really feel that you're not in your power. As far as I can observe, experience, and understand, all these come from very early on in life, when each individual is tender, open, trusting, innocent, and meets a hard, sometimes brutal world of the adults around us. And there begins the series of wounds that form your being, or we could even say deform your being. There may be wounds that affect you in the body, and you may have physical scars. And whenever you see those physical scars, you can remember how you got it. There are other scars that are invisible. Deep scars in the heart, scars in the soul, scars in the very being that distort and deform your very being, your heart, your sense of self, and your interaction with the world. So today we want to look at going in there and uncovering some of those wounds. First of all, you may think, how do I begin this process? How do I find an invisible, deeply buried wound that I don't even know is actually there, that no one can see, that I cannot see? But yet, of course, there is a suspicion that something is there deep down. These are invisible, buried, hidden, and they can come to the surface unexpectedly. One way that you can look for hidden wounds is in dreams. Dreams and the world of dreams enable us to have contact with the deepest part of ourselves. The deepest part of our being is the subconscious. And it's called the subconscious because we don't have access to it. And it is there that lie our wounds, our monsters, our traumas, and some people say our sins. And I want to talk about this word sin in a new way. Because a wound that is inflicted by some external force or person or institution, and which is taken in to the being, poisons the soul in the same way as if you yourself had done that very thing to someone else. Normally speaking, we think about sins as something that we did that was bad, that's on the conscience, that we feel guilty about or ashamed about, something that we did to someone. But why would a person do something against someone else? Especially if it's something that we would consider really, really bad according to our own moral code. How is it possible for an individual to do that? One clue or one key is that what was done to oneself and that has gone deep into the subconscious as a hidden, buried, forgotten experience comes up in the form of an uncontrollable urge or rage to do that very thing to someone else, and you don't know where it came from because it is forgotten. So one area to look at, along with dreams, is when you do something that is completely out of character or unexpected and definitely not planned. How is this connected with dreams? I would like to talk about this also. Dreams is the world of symbols, a world where we have access as we begin to understand the symbols that are represented in dreams. And this is why many of the professional therapists, psychoanalysts, psychotherapists, and psychologists will look into a person's dreams to find keys to what really is the deep inner trauma, the deep inner wound. So there is a language of symbols that can be accessed because of study of the symbols of dreams and the myths that they are associated with. I'm not going to talk about that language of myths and symbols here because you can study that, and you find many books about this. What I want to talk about is that whenever you do get a dream of something which is really vivid and powerful, which really speaks to you, which may make you very afraid or very disgusted, or it may be something so vivid and so unexpected that you are completely mystified by it. And these dreams, when they occur, aside from a psychologist or psychoanalyst being able to interpret it for you, if you happen to be doing therapy with someone like this, but another aspect to be aware of is that when you're not doing anything like this, and a dream of this nature appears in your mind, or it may come as a series of repeated incidents of the same or similar dream, it is a sign that your wound is wanting to come up to the surface. Your wound is wanting to be healed. It's as if it is ripe, as if you are at a time in your life when you're ready to do this kind of deep work, and it is letting you know that now pay attention because the time has come. This dream or series of dreams can also be accompanied by very powerful feelings. Sometimes it can be a feeling that you really can't stand your life anymore because it doesn't correspond with who you are. And when you have very deep wounds inside, then part of your survival mechanism is to create some masks, some coverings, some fake identity that you adopt, which gets you through the next few years of your life, and everything seems perfectly okay and manageable until all of a sudden you start getting dreams, you start getting feelings, and all of a sudden nothing works anymore. It may not be all of a sudden, it may be gradually, but a point will come where you feel so strongly, you feel alienated, you feel you don't know who these people are who are around you. You feel that you cannot stand these people, or you cannot stand your situation, and you feel a huge urge to break it or to break out of it. You may feel very destructive inside, and yet you don't understand where this is coming from. This is also a sign that it's time now for your wound to come up to the surface because you're ready to deal with it. Now, many of you may be feeling something like this, but yet you don't know what to do with that feeling. Some people when they experience something like this, they will mention it to people who are close to them or to total strangers, just to see what kind of feedback they get. Because when you feel something so different, so unusual, you want some sort of a feedback, some kind of a mirror to let you know if what you're feeling is in any way normal, is in any way someone else could relate to, or give you some kind of a response to that can put it in some kind of a perspective. Because very often this feeling or this set of dreams and feelings together is such that you might think you're going crazy, or you might think you're making it up, or you might think, there's some force trying to get at you, depending on if you're superstitious, that might come up like that. But I think we're all human, and we all need to have some sort of a reflection, some sort of a feedback to let us know, do I need to be worried about this or what? Some people, they might go to their family doctor and say, I'm feeling something like this. And very often the family doctor will say, oh, you're just having a bad day, and they will give you some sort of mild tranquilizer, and they will not address it because it is really very few people who are adequately equipped to recognize and to address these things when they start to come up in the early stages. Feeling these dreams and unusual inner urges can very often provoke you into doing something unexpected, like leaving your job, or getting into an affair, or having a big binge drink, or you just get up and leave and disappear and reappear a long, long time later, because this inner force becomes so powerful that you feel you just have to do it. You have to do something about it, but you cannot deal with it adequately in your normal everyday circumstance. And so it provokes you to change your circumstances, can change your environment, can change your job, can leave the house, or you might even just do something that is so shocking that maybe you get thrown out of your job or thrown out of your family, because there's something about going into a completely different circumstance or environment that gives you the chance to sit with yourself away from all of these normal constructs that you had created, which actually came out of that wound. So you go somewhere else. I think many people will go somewhere completely unfamiliar where nobody knows them. Because when you go somewhere where nobody knows you, then you can behave any way you want, because there's nobody there to say, why are you behaving like that? So changing your environment can give you the kind of freedom that you need to try to get in touch with that. Because these wounds are deep and tragic and confusing, it's very difficult for a person to deal with these things by themselves. And another tragic aspect is that most of the people around you who define themselves as the authorities, the moral authorities, the people who represent goodness, normalcy, they are not the best people to help you in a situation like this. Very, very few people are well equipped to recognize what you're going through and to accompany you as you explore the deep inner world, which is full of monsters and where you are afraid, where you are afraid to become weak, afraid to become vulnerable, you are afraid to express yourself, you don't know what you might do, you might suddenly turn into a dangerous criminal, you may be afraid of that. So there are all kinds of constraints that you will put on yourself while you are at the same time trying to undo constraints that you had put on yourself to handle the pain of the wounds, and it can get very, very confusing. So in a simple broadcast like this, you cannot really expect to have a solution to these things. But what we're trying to do here is just to pinpoint some of the things that happen to a person, to let them know that the wound is ripe to be taken care of, and when it's ready, it's not going to let you go. You may say to yourself, or others may say to you, you're just imagining it, have a holiday, do some small thing and it will go away. Change of air, change of job, change of clothes, various different kinds of little things we tend to do thinking that it'll go away. But wound is pain. And pain deep in the soul, when it's ready to come out, there is nothing that can prevent it. So the more we try to suppress it and keep it down, or deny it, or think it's nothing, or diminish it, or try to make it go away through one reason or another, we will find that anything we do will work for a short period of time. And then when that has run its course, you go back to your deep inner discomfort, and the dreams will come again. They will not let you go. You might also experience that there will be something in your environment which will touch your wound or trigger your wound. This can happen through films, through something you see on the television, through a story that you hear about, through something that another person is going through that you meet or you hear about, and whatever is their experience corresponds with yours, and hearing their experience wakes up your wound, and then it has found a way out, like lava in a volcano will find its way out. If not through the central vent, there will be side vents, and that magma has built up a force that must emerge, that must erupt. Why? Because that poison doesn't belong inside. So when the wound is ready to come out, is ready to erupt, you have to be present for yourself. And what's really important is to realize that it's important to put aside what you think are your responsibilities. It's important to set aside all the various things that you say you have to do, you must do. These are all excuses. You have to set aside all of those, because the highest priority at such a time is yourself, your wound, your relationship with your wound, and your relationship with what has been wounded. What has been wounded? Not your body. Though you may have experienced the wound through your body, it's not really your body that is wounded. It's really your soul. Now, how do you make contact with your soul? Do you believe in your soul? Do you have a soul? How do you heal your soul? Because the soul is the deepest part of yourself, the most mysterious, the most subtle. And it is the part of the self that we are usually quite disconnected from. If you get that thought, that feeling that I am wounded at the level of the soul, what does that make you feel? What does that make you think? Because it's deep, it's mysterious, and sometimes it can make you feel quite hopeless, because you would think there is no way that at the level of a wound in the soul, there is no way that it can be healed, that it can be touched, that it can be understood or recognized. And so sometimes at a point where you get this thought that I'm wounded in the soul, this can also make you feel hopelessness. It can make you feel that there is no possibility, that there is no chance, and you may even give up on yourself. And when that happens, you can go deeply into a feeling of depression. You can wish to end it all, to finish your life. Some people, they experience huge volumes of anger, and they will try many ways to express that anger, sometimes causing a lot of damage. But many people, they're so self-restrained that they will turn that angry energy against themselves. And this is where it becomes really very tragic. So what to do with a wound in the soul? You need some understanding what a soul is. How does a soul get wounded? What is the meaning of this feeling that I'm wounded in the soul? Because it becomes deeper than a psychological problem. It becomes a spiritual crisis. And there are many people who experience something so deep, so extreme, so soul-destroying, that they will put this word, spiritual crisis. I'm in a spiritual crisis, but what to do? Very often in a spiritual crisis, the last place you would turn to is a religious place. Why? Because in many ways, for many people, the religions and what they stand for have on some level failed them. And so the person feels completely alone, trapped in that aloneness, and no way out, like you are on the edge of an abyss, a bottomless, dark hole. What to do in that case? A soul in crisis is a soul close to the self. The deep feelings in the deepest part of yourself are occurring in the soul. The soul is forever. And a soul is light. In that deep, dark abyss, there is light. When you give up holding on and you realize there is nothing you can do and nowhere you can turn, at such a moment, intimation of light comes to you. A mysterious light. On one side of your being, you're in the dismal, deep, dark abyss of negativity, and on another side of you, you get the feeling that it's not real, and that on some level, you don't really believe it. If you experience something like this, it's really very positive, because in a very real way, this depth, this deep, dark abyss isn't real. And you get this feeling, even in that depth of darkness, that it isn't real. And when you feel that it isn't real, notice that, feel that it isn't real. Tell yourself it's not real. What is real? I'm light. When you have a thought that is true, it comes with a very powerful feeling of its authenticity and truth. And you know that that which you had gone down into is real on some level, but on another level it just isn't real. And you cannot come under its influence, its grip. You have a suspicion of something else. Light. Something beyond the ordinariness of this life. Something that transcends or takes you almost to another dimension. You get a glimmer, a glimpse, a suspicion that there's something else, somewhere beyond. And you have to admit that you felt, that you saw, that you suspected. And this is a very important key. Go inside for a moment. Put a speck of light on one side and deep, intense darkness on the other side. That speck of light draws you to itself. Look at it. A speck of light grows. A star. An energy. A ray of light. Let yourself fall into that light. Let go of everything. Be with that light. A star that pulls you to itself. Let go of your fear. Let go of your gloom. And be light. Let go of your image. Let go of your stories. See all of it falling away. All the layers of your persona peeling away. Like petals on the springtime trees falling away. Let yourself feel calm. The hurricane of your trauma swirls around you, but you are in the center, in the eye, calm. Unafraid. You pass through to another dimension, as if you go through that tiny hole, and on the other side is light. You go into that light. And you are in a world of light, vast and beautiful. Light upon light, brilliant, swirling light. You feel strength pouring into your being, washing over your wounds, healing. River of light coursing through your soul, touching your raw anguish, letting you be free, unchained, released, dancing in your freedom. You are one with the light. You feel the ecstasy of having let go of everything and merging with the light. The light becomes gentle, sets you gently again into your everyday world, but you're filled with harmony, at peace with yourself. Re-entering the everyday world, it seems different, manageable. Challenges do not frighten you. You are in your power. You are ready. You know who you are. Give yourself time and space to reconnect fully with the everyday world and be at ease. Give yourself time to feel the feeling of being in your body without stress or tension. Just being you. Feel your energy, your strength. A sense that you can flex with normal challenges And even in more extreme challenges, you feel more ready. You have taken power. You do not feel alone. That light is there for you, accompanying you. You walk with that light now. So take time to think about these things and keep yourself near to that source, that light. And we will meet again the next time and go further in this very beautiful journey to the depths of our inner being, through that terrain of wounds and agony, transcending to another space, another state, our destination. Thank you.